next guest today is Diego Perez, also known as Young Pueblo.
Hey, everybody.
So,
hey.
How many people follow him on some social experience? All right.
Thank you so much.
We were just talking. I met Diego 6 years ago, maybe?
A while ago.
6, 7
I think it was
years ago?
2018, 2019?
2018, yeah. And he had this account on Instagram with a couple 100,000 people, which sounds big to most of us, just so you know. And he's like, I just do these like spiritual quotes. Like I just kind of make up these quotes and I like put them on. And I'm like, that's kind of weird. He's like, yeah, I don't know, I just put on these quotes.
Yeah.
And now he's become like a sensation in the world.
Something.
Kind of
Yeah,
cool.
it became something.
Something has happened.
Yeah,
What do you think has happened?
I think it's time to build self-awareness. I think that's what's happening in the world. This like self-love movement, self-care movement, people caring about mental health is now becoming much more practical, right? People are actually looking for different methods, practices, tools. They design systems in their lives that keep them rejuvenated. And I think that's something that was missing. Like I knew that from my own life. Like when I was growing up, I dealt with so much sadness, anxiety. I grew up in a really poor household. So when I think about what was I traumatized by, I was traumatized by poverty. And that anxiety, that scarcity kept building up over time, but I had no way to process it. And I'm fortunate that I found a technique, just like Yuval. I meditate in the Esen Goenka tradition. I also do my 2 hours a day. And I think it's a lot of time that I allot to meditating, but it's the best investment I've ever made.
Yeah.
It's like it's totally harmonized and streamlined my life, and I think from that the creativity has come out, and from that I decided to have a bit of courage to just reflect openly. And when I think about what I do online, I'm just reflecting openly, and some people agree and some people disagree.
A lot of people agree. So how would you describe what meditation has done for you?
I think it's helped me. This is something that I was really enjoying from Yuval's talk. He kept describing it as hard, right? Like it's hard to be able to build self-awareness. But when I think about what meditating has done for me, it's helped me cultivate 3 things. It's helped me cultivate awareness of the present moment. It's helped me cultivate compassion for myself and for other people. And it's helped me cultivate non-reaction. So the ability to feel something that I dislike and take a moment to just observe how it feels before I put any action out there. And these are qualities that, meditation is basically you're taking yourself to the mental gym. You're taking yourself to the gym and you're helping yourself cultivate these qualities that were an intrinsic part of your mind, but they weren't necessarily strong yet. And when you put the time in, the same way that you train yourself to run a half marathon or whatnot, you can train yourself to be more peaceful, more loving, more aware. And then after a while, the training becomes second nature, and you can just kind of walk with ease with the presentness.
And do you feel like the posts that the things that you share, whether it's on Substack or some of the other platforms, do you think because you do that practice, they come from a deeper place inside you? And if you were not doing the practice, they might come from a different place in your mind or your heart?
I'm pretty adamant. Like if I ever stop meditating, don't read what I'm writing. It's not going to be worth it. And I don't meditate to write. I'm really serious. Like we've known each other. We're good friends, and I meditate to take steps forward on the path of liberation. The path of liberation is very long, but it's given me so much to take meditation seriously that I don't treat it lightly. It's just a centerpiece of my life. Yeah. And when I meditate, I do it to, just show up as a better version of myself and to keep building this understanding of anicca, this understanding of impermanence, that, everything is constantly fluctuating at the atomic level, at the biochemical level, at, the level of everyday life, at the mental level, the physical level, the cosmological level. Everything is constantly changing. And when you don't embrace the truth of impermanence, life gets super hard, and it sucks.
Yeah. And so AI, we were talking in the back about now when you see posts, whatever the platform is, it's hard to always know what's real and what's engineered. right? So there's
Yeah.
videos now that it's hard to tell, is it a real video or is it an AI video, or there's pictures or posts, and did a human create that? Did some other AI person create that? As you, from your vantage point, kind of see this new world arising, how do you see it? Are you afraid? Are you excited? Both? What do you see the benefits or challenges of artificial intelligence emerging at this moment in time?
I'm not afraid, and I'm the tiniest bit hopeful. Like
Okay.
the littlest bit hopeful. The world that we live in has definitely improved over time, right? Like, I'd rather have been born in 1987 than in 1910. But our world's still not that great. It can be so much better. I think in terms of like, this is why I use the name Young Pueblo, right? Like Young Pueblo literally means young people. And when I started meditating, it struck me so intensely that we don't know how to do the most basic, fundamental things that we teach children. When kids go to kindergarten and in their homes, they're learning how to clean up after themselves, how to tell the truth, how to be kind to one another, to not hit each other. Like, we may be able to do those things as individuals, but as a human collective, we have not mastered these basic things. So when I think about AI, it's so interesting because you can't trust anything anymore. Everything feels fake, honestly. You don't know. Even a quote that can be so inspiring, like you don't even know if somebody wrote that. And pictures, videos, voices, like it's hard. Like now when I see news, I'm like, my first thought is that even real?
Yeah.
And I think my hunch is that things will actually become so powerful with these new technologies that you can create whatever type of content that you want that will not be based in any truthfulness or reality, that social media will stop being fun. Like, people got onto social media in the first place because they wanted human connection. They wanted to be able to connect with their classmate, with a neighbor that they no longer live near or whatnot. But everything's so fake that we might just end up going back outside.
I used to think of creating a social network called Crap.
Yeah.
And the idea is to create such crappy content that everyone's just like, I'm leaving. This is boring. So where do you see that unfolding? Do you see that unfolding to a place where people have a different relationship with technology, that AI is going to kind of force us into a new relationship with technology?
I think so.
Do you have a sense of how to harness it in powerful ways?
I think it is really valuable. Like, I remember when ChatGPT first came out, I didn't use it for the first 3-4 months, just, read the articles, listened, eventually I signed up, started using an account, and it's so useful.
Yeah.
It's absurd how...
We should also say we're investors in it, but yes.
Right, yeah, invested in OpenAI. But after using it, it's been incredible the amount of research that you can do, and something as simple as trying to understand a basketball player's trajectory and how, are they still as good as they were 4 years ago, because it's able to pull up every single stat ever on this person. Yeah. But to me, I see these sort of converging different ideas of what AI should be like, and some of the AI that's developed is pushing towards disconnection, where I've heard of companies that, I'm building a startup that's in the relationship field.
Ready, right?
It's called Ready, but I've seen what the other competitors, what some other competitors are doing, and I've seen things where, AI will try to fully understand everything that's on your phone, and then before you date someone, it'll understand what's on that person's phone, and basically the data in your two phones will talk to each other, and I'm like, what the heck? That's great, that's wild.
Yeah.
I would have never imagined that usage of AI myself, but I'm hoping that we can be able to access this wealth of knowledge, but in a way that's more so embedded in nature, where it's not disconnecting me from other people, but it's just something I can tap into if I need a little more knowledge on whatever topic, that I can use it. But I'm hoping that AI doesn't destroy nature, it just peacefully becomes a part of it. And
there's also the AI companies that are creating it's a different relationship app, where they're creating avatars of your perfect relationship, and you just have a relationship with the avatar.
That's wild.
And we should say your relationship is actually another human being.
Yeah. I've been joking with my wife. My wife hates the joke, but I'm like, ChatGPT is my friend. And she's like, you need to stop saying that.
You need other friends. You need better friends.
Yeah.
But I do think that my experience is that what I really appreciate with the ChatGPT or Anthropic or the other ones is that it gives you the information directly, and I don't have to go and deal with all the Google ads or whatever ads on the internet. I can actually get the information directly, and so if I'm doing research for a book or a writing project, I just ask ChatGPT. Sometimes I have to double check it just to make sure it's accurate.
You got to be careful with the
Yeah,
books.
but it gives me
Yeah.
really good data to help me move forward something I'm trying to do. And I think the danger becomes, are we going to give up our own mental faculties and we're just going to rely on that for our brain function? And our brain functions are going to kind of diminish because we're looking for that? Or can that be an ally for us in creating a better world? And the argument is, right now, if you're wealthy, you get a great tutor, right? And if you're poor, you don't. And now ChatGPT or some other thing can actually create a tutor that evens that playing field, right?
Yeah.
And that seems to be like a wise thing to do. Or we don't understand the microbiome, people can't figure it out, but the AI can actually go in and like find all these connections. And so do you sense that as you look at using it beneficially, how do you see it within your relationship app?
I think with Ready, what we're hoping to do is that we are trying to take this like beautiful field of relational science that's been developed over the last 30 to 40 years from, the Gottmans. There's so many studies that have been done on relationships and what makes relationships work, and we're hoping to take that, combine it with artificial intelligence and actual user data about as people are reflecting, as people are learning about themselves, because Ready is really, it's a self-awareness app that will then help you connect with other people who are also trying to cultivate self-awareness. And what we're hoping is that not only will we help connect you with someone who also cares about their personal growth, but as you're building a relationship together, Ready will understand you so well that it will know where your blocks are. So, for example, it'll know that as you're dealing with situations in your relationship that, Diego would actually benefit from learning a few different strategies about how to handle himself in arguments, or, different sort of modalities that you can use in your relationship, and it'll understand, okay, if this is where your block point is, let me slowly, peacefully, and compassionately engage this new type of learning so that you can be more well-rounded in your relationship. I think about the massive divorce rates and all these relationships that often don't even really get a fair head start because too many people are seeking perfection. But if we're able to embrace our imperfection and combine that with learning, we can overcome these blocks that stop relationships from thriving.
Take a relationships class in junior high or high school or college. Usually most people do not develop those skills.
And the other part of it too is there are definitely great therapists out there, but there are not that many. And also it's super expensive. Like couples therapy is really expensive. So we're trying to be able to gather this knowledge, help it be specified to your particular situation, have a communication between you and your partner so that you're both checking in. I think about it as, especially with what we're developing called relationship mode, there are times where, my wife and I will start our day, and then I won't see her again until 6 or 7 at night. But I kind of want to know if, we have a few check-ins during the day. I want to know where her energy is at, because I don't want to be, imagining this great, evening together when better I know that, oh, her energy's down that day. Let me, temper my desires and let me just try to show up in a way that's more supportive to her. But if I'm able to walk into the house with that knowledge, then there's going to be just a easier point of harmony for the two of us.
Yeah. And so one of the things I've noticed about you, Diego, is you're very attuned to language, and you're very attuned to what's emergent in the culture. And you've said before, you don't use certain words in your posts because you want to make it common, everyday language. But you also know that there's certain words like self-love for a while. I don't know if it still is. You're like, Soren, this is a really resonant word right now. There's certain words that people really, for whatever reason, they kind of need at that moment. So I'm curious, it's not
as hot as it used to be.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. What's the current zeitgeist of needs that you're finding that people are resonating or not resonating?
Yeah, let's walk through it. So from spending time on social media and writing, I've noticed that 2015 to 2016 was this self-love era where a lot of people are thinking about self-love, Is it real? Is it dumb? What does it mean in my life? Like, is it actually useful? How do I personally define it? That's switched over to letting go, like 2017, 2018, like so many people are writing about letting go. It's almost like we're all collectively thinking about it. Then 2019 to like 2021
It's
was,
just amazing how his brain works. I just
Yeah,
have to like keep tracks of stuff. But
so
go ahead.
2019 to 2021, boundaries everywhere, everywhere. So many boundaries. Helpful, not helpful, right? And then currently, what I'm seeing constantly, and honestly, I did it as a test. Like I had never used this word before, but I wanted to test to see what would happen if I used it. And nervous system. If you just use the word nervous system in a post, it's gonna explode. It's gonna like, and I did it just so I was like, let me see if this is, it's ridiculous. Like it just, and that's just what everyone's thinking about. Like people feel the anxiety in their bodies, and they're trying to find solutions. Like what actually helps me regulate and find some center, find some calmness. But the cool thing about social media is that we're doing this learning collectively. Like we'll literally pick up a topic as particularly the Western world will like pick up a topic and then we're turning it upside down for a year or two, and then we understand it, like it, don't like it, we drop it, pick up another topic.
Yeah, beautiful. And because we're both with Wisdom Ventures, venture capital, what has that experience been like for you? And what do you see the future of business, technology, social media? How do you sense where all this is going? And what do you sense in terms of investments in areas that excite you?
Our foray into venture capital, which is really funny.
Really funny,
Yeah.
actually,
I think initially we wanted to do it because we wanted to prove that compassion is good business. We wanted to prove that and I took that initial inspiration from the clothing company. Like I've noticed that, yes, I would rather buy clothes from a company that thinks about how their clothes are made. And what is the process? Like, are people treated well in that process? Is it good materials? Is it not hurting the earth? And then I was like, why don't we bring that energy to technology, right? We need to think about the way these technologies are affecting the human mind. Is it increasing my greed? Is it increasing my fear? Or is it helping my well-being in some manner? And when we jumped into that foray with venture capital, we saw that there was a lot of beautiful companies. So I'm happy that we decided to take on that experiment. And I think that hopefully, if we keep supporting the right companies and the right founders that genuinely care about uplifting humanity, that we can prove that compassion is good business. Because I think ultimately, we want to consume things that are good for us and good for others.
Yeah, and that a leader that's practicing compassion, practicing mindfulness, practicing wisdom has a better chance of navigating challenging times in that company to make it through and getting along better and dealing with whatever challenges. And so I think there's a benefit there that also plays out.
You find this with a lot of different meditators, people who've meditated in different traditions. As they've gotten more serious about their practice and they've started really training their minds, their capacity increases. And not only has their capacity increased with what they're able to put out into the world, but that capacity is also anchored in good values. They don't want to harm themselves. They don't want to harm others. So I think it's critical to support people like that.
One of the things I appreciate about you is I feel like you see the future pretty well. You see the present pretty well. We also see the future pretty well. What is it that you're seeing now in terms of whether businesses or efforts or projects that you feel like humanity and the culture is kind of stepping into?
I mean, we're entering the brave unknown. I think it's interesting to me that we live in this moment where the world has become so globalized that we can still go a ways in regards to accessibility, but it's truth when we say that healing methods are more accessible than they've ever been. But at the same time that we have now gotten more access to the tools that can help alleviate our minds of trauma, help us show up as more well-rounded sort of, individuals who put compassionate actions forward, we have this like tremendous, massive challenge. Like AI is going to happen. Like I've never seen a situation like that before where like capital is on the move.
Yeah.
Like capital's
Yeah.
on the
Capital's
move.
on the move, seriously.
Like people are, I mean, these different companies, like, billion-dollar raises after billion-dollar raises when their actual trajectory is trillion-dollar raises. Like they're ultimately trying to raise trillions of dollars to build like, powerful computational networks that they can train their systems on. And like the way that capital has organized itself, like to me, it feels like akin to World War II. Like obviously I'm younger, but from what I've read, I'm like, people mobilize heavily for World War II. People are mobilizing intensely to make AI happen.
Yeah, so definitely the capital is going in that direction. I don't
Yeah.
know if the humanity is mobilizing in the same
No,
way.
but that's why I'm super excited to hear Angel's coming on next, and he's going to talk, because we need to make sure that what we're building is not just to make rich people richer, right?
Yeah.
We need to build something that's genuinely going to uplift humanity, is going to be grounded in the truth of the moment. Like what I'm hoping, I don't know if I'm necessarily seeing, but what I'm hoping is that AI can help eliminate poverty. Like, I think we live in such an abundant world, but so much of our world is disorganized, and it's not geared towards supporting individuals and at least having the sort of basic decency of being able to, drink clean water, have access to good and free education, healthcare, these basic fundamentals. But I'm hoping that AI can help uplift and enrich humanity so that we can make living well a human right.
Yeah, it's interesting when we look at the systems in play and like if there was a more intelligent life form, would we still have capitalism? Would we still have private ownership? Like all these things that we've kind of taken for granted, but maybe they all need to be questioned so that we can find some new sustainable system.
This is why I don't
currently
close.
it's not sustainable.
Yeah,
whatever
this
we
is
have.
why I don't close the door on AI, because like what we said earlier, like we've come far, but we have way further to go when it comes to supporting our well-being, being able to like have each individual activate their creativity without just focusing on surviving.
Yeah.
And I think, these are good goals to have, and hopefully, I think AI is really going to shake everything up in a big way, but hopefully when things settle, it's a better world.
So one of the things I think that's unique about you, Diego, and I have a love-hate relationship with like Instagram and some of those things. Some because I know what's behind the scenes and I know some of the founders. I'm like, but what I found is that you found a way to create posts that uplift people, right? That like the people read them and they're uplifted. And I think there's a lot of me of like, look at who I'm, whatever, and it doesn't uplift people necessarily. It kind of just like, it's either kind of bragging or it's just like, it doesn't have an uplifting quality to it. And, and you found a way, it seems, like whatever people, you can't control you can't control that ecosystem, of course, because everybody is adding to that ecosystem. But you can control the part that you play in that ecosystem, and the part that you play feels like everybody I meet who kind of runs in touch with you, they feel uplifted. And I'm curious how we might be a part of that, or like how we can be a part of. I want to do two things. I want to add more uplifting content to those platforms, and I want to take down the platforms and create different platforms. Because I don't think those, in their DNA, they're not built to support human flourishing. It's just not in their DNA.
It's not part of the business
It's
plan.
just not, And I think there could be new companies that emerge that take that as their thing. But this is what we have now, so we need to work with what we have now. So do you have any thoughts on how we share content, whether it's in words or writing, that uplifts people? And what's been your journey in that as a writer? Creative?
I think if you do have an idea for a great company that's going to uplift people, do it. Like start it. Don't doubt yourself, and don't spend too much time planning. We can get stuck in planning. Like most of it you'll figure it out as you go along. Like a lot of the startup world is just like solving one problem after another problem after another problem. You don't even know what the next problem is going to be, so you can't really prepare for it. And but you can, if you cultivate your inner world, you'll have enough like peace, and your perception will be clear that you can come to a better solution. I think in terms of social media, like if you have a business that requires social media, or if you have a message that you want to put out there, put your raw message out there. Like I've never used ChatGPT for my own writing. I've used it for research, asking questions and stuff like that. But like, try to make art. Like make your art. put it out there. And you'll be surprised because people are so exhausted by people just saying the same thing over and over that when you bring something genuine to the fold and you bring that raw vulnerability, like people will like it and it will help them and it will change their lives and you won't even know that it's changing their lives. Yeah. The other aspect of it too is that I think especially sometimes with the sort of self-help world of social media, it becomes so you-focused that we forget the value and how much peace you can create in your own life by being kind to others, by understanding that other people are also going to be imperfect just like you, and not, just rattling someone off as toxic and whatnot. So I think putting out that kindness and letting that message flow forward, like I always get, sometimes I make pieces and I share them online and I'm like, I don't know what's going to happen with this, but I feel inspired when I, write something about how good kindness is, and people are like, yeah, that's cool. Good. Like they're also down with the message. And I think if you have something to give, like you don't even know. Like there was one time Soren did a conference 2 years ago, and I was just thinking about this amazing woman that I met. She told me that the second book that I wrote helped save her life. And I didn't know that could even happen. Like I didn't know, that wasn't the plan. When I was putting together the book, I wasn't like this one woman, is going to get help by this. But that's why, to what I, just don't hold back. Like if you have something that you feel like your intuition's like, you got to give it, do it, because you do not know who you will help. And there's so much value in that.
What's interesting today is we have all these tools at our disposal. We have social media to have a channel or a voice, or YouTube.
It's never been a better time to be a writer.
Yeah.
If you want to write, isn't it Substack, Instagram?
And we also have AI that potentially can do all this stuff. So we just have another minute, and I think your wife Sarah is watching, so shout out to Sarah.
Hey, Sarah, yeah.
Any relationship, and I know relationship's been a huge part of your work and your life and your new company. A few lessons that you're currently learning in the relationship domain.
Oh, that's a great question. I think the main thing that has helped harmonize the relationship between Sarah and I is us openly sharing in informal check-ins, right? It's not like, let's sit down and talk, how are you feeling? It's like, just when you feel a big shift in your emotional spectrum, when you go from feeling pretty good to like not feeling good, you let your partner know. Because normally whatever tension you have inside of you, you will share it with whomever is in proximity. And oftentimes it's your most loved ones who are in proximity. So whether you're in a relationship, with a partner, or you live with your family, children, whomever, just like let the people know who you're in proximity with, like let them know the ups and downs of your emotional spectrum. And that will solve like 80% of your problems, because you'll often take that tension, and that tension will want to keep generating itself. And it will start finding stories, and it'll start thinking about, this argument from 6 months ago, I need to like rehash it and think about it, and how can I get mad again? But if you are aware in the moment, I don't feel good, and you understand that this thing arose, but it's not necessarily connected to the next thing, then it stops you from creating a story there.
Yeah, cool. And then how do people stay connected? I know Young Pueblo on Instagram, and then Ready app on Instagram, or what is the way to stay connected?
Yeah, if you do want to join the waitlist, it's readyplatform.co, Young Pueblo on Instagram, and my favorite place is honestly Substack. Substack is like where I get to go deep and really just, write a full essay, as opposed to like a little thing.
Right. Yeah. Awesome. Thank you, Diego.
Thank you all so much.